Today we're going to attempt to change the exhaust on our 2009 Smart Cabriolet over here. I purchased the Thorley Twin Dual Exhaust, which we can show you a little bit later. So we're going to go and we're going to see how easy it is for a novice who hasn't really worked on a car in over 25 years. See if he can take off the rear valance, put in the exhaust, take out the old exhaust, put in the new exhaust. And then we don't have our valance because UPS damaged it, but since that can be put on after, we'll put that on later. Okay, so this is the sound of the stock exhaust. Okay, and we're going to be putting the car up on some ramps, but I wanted to get a little bit of sound over here as we back away.
Here's a little more of the exhaust, just in case you couldn't hear it before.
Okay, it looks like it's a Torx size 25, so I'm going to get a wrench and we'll take this off. There we go. Both of the Torx screws are out. We're now going to try to pull these pins out, which here are a little challenging with the tires here, so we're going to see how that works. Okay, so here's where the pin is located on either side of the bumper, on the rear bumper. So we're going to pull that out. It's popping that up, and then there's an internal pin as well. So we'll see if we can get a little closer look at it later. Okay, that's what the pin looks like once it's removed. It's actually kind of a two-part pin. So the first thing you have to do is you have to pry this part up, because I'm not going to push it down, but this thing is going to be all the way down, flush against here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to pry that up, and that pops out, and then you can push the rest of the pin out. So there's one of those on either side. That's what they look like. Okay, so now we're underneath the car. You can see here's the old exhaust over here, and we'll zoom out a little bit. So you have these two clips on either side. We have to undo that clip. That allows this to pull forward, and then there's going to be several clips. I don't know if we can really see them here along the top here. You just got to kind of work your way off the vehicle. Okay, and the panel comes off. So just to give you a little more close-up detail, you basically got to wiggle your hand under there and push this forward. Actually pull it towards you this way. You can see there's a little flange, and then pull down as you do that. So now the rear valance is out. As you can see, we can now see the exhaust. You can see this is the flange that we're going to be attaching with the gasket that we're going to be attaching the new muffler to. And on either side of the muffler, you've got the exhaust rather, you have these rubber gaskets that have prongs that are going in. So we just got to pry we got to undo those bolts, which we have to take off the heat shield, which I have to do from the top. And it's a little warm right now because I did drive it to get it on the ramps here. So we're going to let it cool. I also found out that I thought I had a Torx screw, but it's not a Torx screw, it's a Torx nut. So I need to get the right kind of wrench to take that off. Okay, and if you don't know where your engine is in the back of the car, under over here. This clip is supposed to hold this up over here, but I find that it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Or it's very difficult to use. So anyway, you twist this thing, and now you're able to reach in here into the engine. Now we're supposed to be able to see the plate covering the catalytic converter, but I don't see it here, so I'm going to climb up and see if I can find it. Okay, here's the exhaust, basically made up of multiple parts. So you can see we have over here, this is the flange that's going to mount to the existing catalytic converter flange. You've got an adjustable piece right over here. This is the way the exhaust is going to stick out the back of the vehicle over here. Here's this thing that's going to poke into that rubber grommet, one on the other side. And all right, it's been quite a day. For starters, you think you have the right tools. Went to Sears, got a tool. Then we needed something that with low clearance. Really, I've had a hard time. It's a very, very tight area to get your hands into. I don't want to start disassembling other parts of the engine over here to try to get to the exhaust. So maybe if you're, feel comfortable taking off all these air, I think they're air filter, components and unscrewing them, then that would be a lot easier. But right under here, you have two bolts that are going to, you can't see it, you got 2 bolts that are going to be attached to the top of the catalytic converter, and they're really hard to get to. I finally was able to get them off with an 8mm wrench, where I was able to just unscrew it enough so that I could then get my fingers in there and just take them off. And then there are 2 clips on the back of the catalytic converter shield that hold it from the back, and you got to really force that up to get the catalytic converter clear, the shield clear of the bolts on the exhaust. Once I was able to access those bolts on the exhaust, it was really easy. The other thing, if we go over to the exhaust, there are some flanges on the ends of the stock exhaust, so you've got to put some WD-40 on there and really turn it a little bit. So let's go look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you can see on the stock exhaust, you've got this flange, and that flange is this part over here. It goes through the rubber grommet that holds the exhaust on either end into the back. So that's a little hard to get off, but not impossible. If you look at the new exhaust, it does not have a flange, so that's going to slide in really easily. So so we're now up to the next challenge. We're going to look at the directions, and we'll see if we can get this exhaust in and see if it works. Now you got to remember, you do have to save the gasket that over here, because that gasket's going to be reused on this part over here. So save the gasket. The kit, Doug Thorley kit, does come with 2 bolts, so that'll be a little easier to use those bolts as opposed to using the stock torque. So far, on a scale of 1 to 10, well, it's definitely difficult. It's more of access than anything else. It doesn't require a lot of skill. It does require, getting your hands a little scraped and banged up, and if you're not used to that, it's tough, and it can be a little frustrating if you don't have a good set of tools. So be prepared to go out and buy some tools, that you're going to need, and or like I said, it might be just easier to pay the professionals. But so far, I'm having fun, a little frustrated, but I'm not a mechanic. I don't do this for a living, but I love the car, and I'm having fun tricking it out. All right, looking underneath the car, this is the driver's side over here. Here is the rubber gasket that the prong on the end of the exhaust is going to go in there. So you got to spray this with WD-40 probably to get it off, as well as WD-40 to put on the new piece. This is over here. If you can see, this is the on top of the catalytic converter. So here's your catalytic converter. There's your catalytic converter over here, and on top of the catalytic converter you have this heat shield. Well, to access those screws that hold this down on top of the catalytic converter, you got to access it from the back side up here, and it's really hard to get in there from the top. But it's I say not exactly impossible, but certainly difficult. And then again, we come across onto the other side over here. So this is on the passenger side of the vehicle. Here's your other flange. So basically, at this point, all we're going to do is we're going to stick one end of the exhaust holder over here, and we're going to put the other end of the exhaust holder over here. Right over here, you've got your flange where you're going to put your gasket, and that's going to bolt back on. And then we're going to have to try to figure out how to get this back down where it belongs, so that the shield over here afterwards, it has to come back down. So this should be a little bit of fun. The last screw back onto the catalytic converter shield, heat shield. Very hard to do. You got to have much thinner arms than I have to get in there. But I got it on there. I got it tight. We're now going to see if there's any abnormal sounds. In the upper speeds, you can't really hear the exhaust, but in the lower gears, you definitely can hear it.
So Dad, on a scale of easy peasy, lemon squeezy to really, really mega difficult, what was it?
It was difficult. Difficult things to get to.